Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat and NBA content. My name is Amir. On today's episode, we have Matt joining us once again. Matt, you have so many credentials, and I tried to get them all last time when I introed you, but for the sake of me forgetting one or two of the publications you work for, do you want to let the audience know where they can find you online before we get started today?
Yeah, man, you can find me at mph_824_ on Twitter. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see that in my name. That's where you can find me out on Twitter. You can find me at hothoops.com, VenettaSportsMedia.com, MountainWestConnection.com, as well as playback.tv/5RSN and playback.tv/hoops profile. I'm everywhere.
Mouthful again, once again. So, yes.
I always stumble over it. Stumble over it.
There's just too many to remember. We're just going to say this is just Matt. You can find him at MPH. Again, which makes it more difficult, is your Twitter handle also. It's not easy to remember. Mine's Mota2123. That's 4 letters of my last name and, 4 of my favorite numbers. So I try to keep it simple, I guess. But either way, thank you again for hopping on. Appreciate your time. I wanted to bring you on because I want to talk about the Las Vegas Summer League. I do want to also talk about the California Classic, which just took place this past week. Here in San Francisco, where I live, I didn't get to go to the game. I made a funny note saying I should have gone to this game because the arena is empty. I could have got courtside for $5. And then Matt messaged me on Twitter. He's like, I think it's only broadcasted to media, family, and the team. So I was like, oh, that makes sense why there's literally 0 people in the stands. So
I don't know why they do that. They've been doing that when it's in San Francisco the last couple of times they've done it. I don't know why it's only for the last game too. I don't know why that's the case. I don't. But it is. That is.
The times are off on the West Coast. Like, people are working at 4:00. Like the game is at 4:00.
Yeah.
PST. So it's like people are still at work typically in San Francisco. I still don't understand. I'm sure they could have gotten some money. Obviously, it's like, why not get as much revenue as you possibly can? Tickets are super expensive for the Chase Center, so I'm sure you can get it. Like, it's still some event. I mean, it is Tuesday, I guess, but still, I don't know how many. There's a lot of fair weather fans here, not Warrior fans in general, but the ones in San Francisco. Once they moved from Oakland, Oracle to San Francisco, it became more like rich techie people that don't care about the team versus like diehard kind of ghetto fans at times, which I've dealt with both, going to Oakland and San Francisco. But either way, I want to talk about Kasparas Jakucionis. Obviously, our 20th pick has been struggling, and last night was no different. And he's 1 for 15 in his 3 games or 4 games?
3.
So 3 games, 12 turnovers, just not the smoothest start for his summer league and for his NBA debut. So do you think these early struggles are just like part of the adjustment of being in the NBA and playing with like new players without much practice time? Or do you think there's bigger issues underhanding that?
I mean, I wish I could say it was the norm. Like, I will say one thing, I haven't loved how he's been utilized offensively, mostly in the first 2 games, not as much the third game. I mean, he was playing off ball a lot. He could play off ball like he did. He did a good job of playing off ball at Illinois, but he was off ball a ton over those first 2 games, and it didn't look like he was really comfortable in the role that he was in. I would say I wish it was part of the norm, but like, few rookies are shooting 1 of 15 from the floor. Few rookies have, 13 turnovers in their first 3 games. Like, it's just not, it's not normal for something like that drastically bad to happen, especially when your usage hasn't been very high. That said, I do like some of the reads that he has made. Like, some of the turnovers that he's had, like, not all turnovers are created equally, just like not all assists are created equally. And some of the turnovers where it was like, guys not cutting to the right spots, guys like fumbling a pass or whatever the case was, like, he could have had more assists and he could have had less turnovers, but that just wasn't what happened. Even though that happened, I still just didn't love what I saw from him. Like, the burst wasn't necessarily there. And he had athletic limitations when he was at Illinois. but the burst wasn't necessarily there. His handle was loose. His shot, like he hasn't made a three yet. I think he was like what 0 of 10 from three, something crazy like that. 0 of 11. I don't remember what the exact
Yeah.
number was, but
I
it
think it was
wasn't.
0 and 12, close enough around that range.
Yeah, he hasn't made a three, and to me, like his mechanics look way all over the place, especially like at Illinois. Like his shot looked good. It just after he suffered that forearm injury, the percentages dipped. I hardly doubt that's something that's still affecting him at this point. I'd be very surprised if it was like that. To me, that feels like kind of crazy if it was, but I don't think it is. Um, but his mechanics are all over the place. Like he's drifting when he shoots. He just doesn't look comfortable right now. And I'm not saying I'm like worried in the long term or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like the first three games of his just haven't been very good at all. Although the thing that I have liked about him, the defense. It's kind of ironic because one of the knocks of his coming out of college was like he wasn't a great point of attack defender. Like he was engaged, but he wasn't like he was never known as like a stop or anything like that. He was just mostly like a physical point of attack defender, could hunt the passing lanes. And to me, like his defense has been his best feature so far. And like he's been like legitimately good on that end. I don't think the rebounding, like he's been active on the glass, even though he hasn't hauled down a ton of rebounds. Like the hustle plays and whatnot, like everything that's happened offensively isn't affecting his defense. And that's something that like if you're looking for a silver lining, that's something that you could take away from these, first three games. But the stuff offensively with just the comfort, the ball handling, the burst, the shot, all that stuff just isn't there right now. And I wish I could say it was like the norm of adjusting, but like you're not seeing rookies play like this. You're seeing rookies play better than he is right now. And so I'm hoping that he plays better in Vegas because you always want to see something. You always want to see, flashes in these types of environments from your rookies, especially your first round rookies. And so, there's hope that he can potentially get back to the mean in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe with better competition, he could perhaps play better, which sounds like an oxymoron, but like I personally, I play basketball twice a week. Thursday nights I play, and there could be different variables for the reasons why, but it's not as competitive as a game compared to the Saturday morning games that I play. And for some reason, I always struggle. And like I play with a friend that I play with on both days, and a couple friends actually, and they're like, this is lesser competition. Like you should typically be playing better. Like I'm maybe not playing as fundamentally sound. I'm probably taking harder shots or trying more things perhaps,
Yeah.
but that's not necessarily the case. I'm not like doing step back turnaround jumpers or anything like outside of the norm. But like, and I don't feel like less confident, but for some reason I just don't play as good. And I'm probably not playing 112%, 120%. I'm probably playing 100%, but um I don't know. I just play better on Saturdays with better competition for some reason. Like I don't know what it is specifically. Who knows? I mean, one of the variables could be playing at 8 a.m. first thing in the morning versus playing at 8 p.m. on Thursday nights after I work from
Okay.
8 to 5, and then I'm with my daughter for 3-4 hours. She's 3 years old, and I'm eating dinner. Like maybe that's that. It could be that simple. But also, I just feel like I play better when I play against better people, even if I'm like if I have to become a role player versus someone who's like a primary ball handler. Like I don't know. Maybe that's the case with him. I'm thinking on Thursday or no, actually Friday is the first game against the Hawks. Maybe he can get out of his head. Maybe it's like a confidence or psychological thing right now, especially when you're cold. We saw Bam Adebayo frustratingly do this for the last 3 seasons. Anytime he's in a game where he's missed his first like 6-7 jump shots or even post touches, right? Like little hook shots. He finally makes one and he puts his arms up in the air. Like Bam does this consistently every single year when he's having bad games and he finally hits a shot. So like that gets draining. Like I'm sure like when he keeps missing all those threes, like after missing 4, 5, 6, it's like, all right, I'm gonna keep shooting. Don't think about it, but it just weighs on you psychologically. So I'm just hoping
Yeah.
that's the case. The good thing about what you said is defensively, like he's been playing tough on that end, even though he's been, has more turnovers than field goals made, which is insane because it's only one across 3 games, which isn't a good look. But players like that can build a reputation through hustle and defense first, even though that offense is not there. I do still worry that against real NBA competition, like if you're not getting to the rack and if you're turning the ball over at this clip, like you're not going to play. Like you're not going to be in the
Yeah.
rotation. Like you're going to be playing at Sioux Falls. Like that's like you're going to be like Kashaw. You're going to probably play
Yeah.
10, 15 games, like dressed for the Miami Heat. Like I don't see him playing much. Like do you see him playing at all now? Like how does this impact his like I mean again, he could dominate during the summer league, which is what 10, 11 games over across 10 days versus a 3-game sample. What are your thoughts about his role like moving forward, especially because if he could play defense, that's what might earn Spo's trust
Yeah.
is the defense, but the turnovers, that's going to kill you. And if you can't make a wide open shot, which defenses are going to lag off of him, right? They're going to
Yeah.
like force him to maybe not like the same as like the Jaime Jaquez factor where he just got like
Right.
1,000 shots in the corner like wide open, but like what are your thoughts just on that?
Eric Spoelstra, there's a narrative out there that Eric Spoelstra doesn't play rookies. I don't think that's necessarily true. He'll play rookies that are ready and that, show him why they should play him or why he should play them behind the scenes. And like Hero was probably the best example of that, even though he was also like 19, 20 during his rookie season. Khalil Ware had to show Eric Spoelstra day in, day out why he should trust him. Jaime Jaquez Jr. was like pretty, he was pretty seasoned coming out of UCLA. And so, he had a lot of, he was kind of thrust in the rotation almost right away, I believe. With Jakucionis at 19, to me right now, just again, if I'm basing this off of 3 games that don't hold really any weight, he's not ready. And so for me, I think he will. I think it's going to be. He's going to have to fight through that behind the scenes, and he's going to have to, show Eric Spoelstra why he should trust him. Obviously, we're in a different kind of phase now, just because, they don't have Jimmy Butler anymore. They've kind of said already, without directly telling us, that they're going to lean more into their youth. Obviously, we won't know whether that's actually true or not until the regular season starts, when we know what the roster looks like, until we, just what the rotation, like the rotation could potentially look like. But right now, I just think he's on the outside looking in. And that way, obviously, things can change over the course of a season. But I'm kind of with you right now in the sense that, like, I don't know how much playing time he's going to actually get. I think he will, spend time in Sioux Falls, and that's not a bad thing. Like,
No,
all of these
he's the
guys
20th
develop
pick.
differently. Not
Yeah.
all growth is linear. And so, like, if he starts the season in Sioux Falls, or if he has to go down to Sioux Falls for a little bit, that's fine. Nikola Jovic spent most of his rookie season before his back injury in Sioux Falls. Khalil Ware even spent a couple of games in Sioux Falls last year before, finally earning Spoelstra's trust. Like, some of these guys will just go to Sioux Falls, get reps in that they need, and then, it'll happen from there. And that might happen for Jakucionis, who's only 19 and still has, plenty of room to grow on both sides of the ball. And so, like, that could ultimately happen, and that's not a bad thing. I know people look at that as like a negative or whatever, but like, not all of these guys develop differently. Not all of these guys, need the same things to develop, and not all of these and not all growth is linear. And so, we'll see what happens over the next, week and a half with him in summer league. Like, Kashad spent all of last season in Sioux Falls, and he was awesome last summer league. Same thing with Pelle Larsson. It took him a little bit to, crack the rotation. Obviously, he was getting spot minutes here and there throughout the season, but like, he even spent like, I think a small amount of time in Sioux Falls at different points of the season. And then he finally, started playing more toward the end of the season. Not significantly more, but more nonetheless. Like, it's going to take time for some of these guys, and I think it will take time for Jakucionis to figure all that stuff out, especially if they're yanking him from games in summer league games because of a turnover or whatever. Even though I don't know if all of those are necessarily his fault.
Yeah. I mean, dude, he's a 20th pick. People on Twitter are like, he's a bust. I'm like, he's the 20th pick. He's not a top 10 guy.
3 games, 3 summer league games.
3
You
summer league
can't
games.
you
He's
can't do that
playing.
after 3 summer league games.
He's playing with. Okay, outside of Pella and Kashad and Kalel for 2 games, he's playing with Kira Lewis Jr., Javante Cook, Myron Gardner, right? Like
Right.
Bryson Warren, Marcus Williams. Like he's not playing with the Miami Heat. He's not coached by Eric Spoelstra. He is not coached by anybody in the Heat organization except for like a couple assistant coaches and the Sioux Fall guys. Like
Yeah.
he has not had a training camp. Like
Yeah.
he has not. He literally just got drafted 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, and he's playing with a hodgepodge of guys who are most likely not going to be in the league. And some of those guys are not even good enough to be in the G League theoretically. And so playing in the G League at Sioux Falls is going to give him the repetition and the experience that he needs at a higher level of basketball than he was playing at college. And then that's going to help him improve. And he's going to learn the systems, the schematics of the Heat organization. He's going to get developed and he's going to be around better players, which make you better in theory, right? So hopefully through osmosis, he can learn, through Tyler Hero, through Davion Mitchell, through Drew Smith, whoever's through Terry Rozier. Oh man, you know what I mean? I'm just kidding about that part. But like,
Are
you
you?
can't write him off. He's 19. Like, let him have a training camp. Let him figure shit out. Like, he's gonna be. Also, like people are like, oh yeah, he's supposed to be good because he was supposed to be a late lottery pick, but then he fell. It's like, dude, you think that many NBA GMs and owners and scouts, like coaches and managers are like that dumb, or they're gonna like let like a generational guy actually slip that far? It's like most of the time they're right. Like 90% of the time, like when a guy falls out of like, no, what do you think?
No.
50%?
No.
Well, here, my only instances I can think of in the top of my head, because I'm not a big college guy and I don't think that way like you guys do. Dalton Connect was supposed to be top
It's true. Yeah.
10, 12. He looks like where'd he get drafted? I don't remember. 20th after
It
12 or
was
16, 17?
17.
Yeah. Right after we were all thinking, do we take him? Do I take I was saying no because I don't watch college and I'm like, I don't want another white Max Strus Duncan guy like on the team. Like, give us Kalel. I'm like, Kalel. So for me, it was like, no. But like, he's a fine player, but like, he looks like he's a guy that should have fallen out like of the lottery so far. Same with Cam Whitmore. He might change that when he goes to the Washington Wizards. He was on a stacked Rockets team, but Cam Whitmore was supposed to be even better, like a higher prospect. He was supposed to be like a top 7 possible pick. He went after Jaime, right? 1920 to the
He went
Rockets. Like,
20. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, those are two that I can think of immediately. So it's like, but I'm just saying, people might say on Twitter that he was supposed to be a lottery pick, that now that he fell to 20, like it makes it, he's not a normal 20th pick, is what some people might say. But also to you, our point is, he's 19. He's played 3 freaking games with a hodgepodge of guys who are not even NBA players, basically, and he hasn't been like, he hasn't practiced with the Miami Heat. Like it's the off season. Like, he's gonna get better naturally. Like, it's fine. He needs a couple years. He's not a superstar. He's not Cooper Flagg. He's not Dylan Harper. He's not like a top 3-5 prospect, right? Like, he's gonna need time to develop. So anyway, let's switch
I had him
gears
at
though.
7, so I have some egg on my face. But
What were you gonna say about the whole misconception of players that were supposed to go high in lottery got drafted later?
Well, I know. I just think that like there's just some NBA teams who are dumb, and they'll,
Right.
it'll be the other way where they're they'll overdraft guys and they'll end up wrong. Like I think the one that like a recent one that comes to mind. Again, it's hard to evaluate this stuff after 3 to 4 years or until 3 to 4 years.
Sure.
After these classes, but like last year, Cody Williams was taken like what in the lottery, top whatever, and it was just like he's bad. Like he's not a good NBA player.
Yeah,
Still
Michael Kidd Gilchrist, wasn't he like the 2nd pick or 3rd pick? A name from
Yeah,
Michael Carter Williams, wasn't he like a top pick? Like, they don't pan out all the time. Also, it could be like the Kings trading Halliburton. You're right. Some organizations are dumb, or like the T-Wolves when they didn't pick Curry twice. What was it? They got Johnny Flynn and someone else. I forgot the other guy's name.
I don't remember who the other guy. But yeah, Flynn was one of them.
It was like someone at 3, and they had like 2 picks in like the top 7 or some shit, something crazy or whatever it was. So anyway, let's switch gears from Kasparas to Andrew Wiggins real quick. So there's been some rumors about the Lakers, and that's been shot down because the Heat are asking for too much. The Heat want to get a 1st-round pick, which I think absolutely makes the most sense because people on Twitter are like hating on Andrew Wiggins, thinking he's trash. Like, he's 30 years old. He's in his prime. He's not a number 2 option. He's not a number 3 option. I mean, he could be a number 3 if you're playing with Steph Curry, but he's like a 3rd or 4th option on a team. And he's a solid player who can get you like 16 to 18 points per game, few rebounds, like he's 3 and D. He's an all-star, I guess, one-time all-star champion. So people are writing him off, which I think is funny. And I understand why we're asking for a first-round pick. He's not an expiring contract. Like, so like if you actually do like him, which he does have
Right.
value, he has a player option. So theoretically, it's not just like a rental, perhaps. Like you can actually persuade him and maybe he stays if he has a bad year, right? And then he needs to do another prove it year, then he might opt in for that team. So I don't understand the sentiment of why Heat Twitter hates him so much. I don't hate him. I'm okay with him staying on this roster, but I'm okay trading him as long as we get a first round pick, basically no matter who we trade him for. Because I'm thinking about the future and if another superstar that could become available, then we could have flexibility, cap space, some young pieces who can grow and develop if we actually do this blended build, which it now seems like another blended build. Now that we got Norm and Bam and Wiggins and Rozier still on this roster. So there had been speculation about the Lakers. That cooled off because they didn't want to give Connect in the first round pick. Now they're talking again, I think. But there's also another team that came up, the Bucks. And I know Ethan and 5 Reasons were saying that the Bucks and Heat were possibly going to do a trade before the draft, but that fell apart. So what are your thoughts on the whole Wiggins thing? Do you think we actually trade him to the Lakers? Do you think it makes sense to trade him to the Lakers? Do you think they'll do that? And also, like, what are your thoughts on the whole like rumors around the Bucks, possibly? Because I don't see anybody on the Bucks that I would want. Like, I don't want Kyle Kuzma. I'd rather keep Andrew Wiggins for sure. So
That's what I was just about to say, and I could be wrong here. But I don't think the Bucks own any of their first round picks through 2030. And so it's
2030,
just like,
2031. Yeah.
yeah, so it's just
100%.
like, so it's like I don't think that's like unless if it's a 3-team trade where, something's getting rerouted to the Heat that's not from Milwaukee. I think that would make some sense. I don't know who that other team would be, but like if, Miami wants to send Andrew Wiggins to Milwaukee, Milwaukee sends junk to Team X, and then Team X sends a first round pick to Miami, I'd be fine with that. Obviously, depends on, when that first round pick is and who it's from. I mean, obviously, again, certain first round picks are better than others. But in the sense from the Lakers, like, I don't know, to me, it's weird in the sense that, like, I talked about this previously. After Dorian Finney-Smith went to Houston, I was like, okay, the price for Andrew Wiggins, specifically for the Lakers, just went up because, they're seeking that kind of two-way wing, a guy who doesn't have a bad contract. Like, I think 28 and 30 over the next 2 years is fine. Like, I don't think it's like a great contract. I don't think it's like a terrible negative asset, though.
Yeah.
Wiggins did have kind of a rough stint with the Heat, albeit, 30, 35 games or whatever. He was injured for most of it. He dealt with the hamstring injury. I think there was a couple other injuries lower body injuries that he did have. But he only played in 17 of those games. Like, he barely played in half of the games that he was available for with the Heat. And so I think that to some degree, that I think that's why fans are sour with him, is because he wasn't available all that much.
And the playoffs, he didn't step up.
Right. And the playoffs.
I would say I'm more pissed about the playoffs piece.
That's
like,
fine. Yeah.
He had double digit games in every game, but like 10 points, 12 points. Like
Yeah.
we were not scoring. Like, we need you to be
Yeah.
more engaged. And he didn't want to be that number one option behind Tyler Hero, because they were kind of doubling. They weren't blitzing him every play, but like they were focusing on Tyler Hero, right? So like,
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm more mad about. Others were mad about availability too, for sure.
Yeah. And I think both are, to a certain extent, like, valid reasons. Like, I could see why certain fans wouldn't like it. I mean, I was very high on acquiring Andrew Wiggins at the time. It simply didn't work. I think he had a lot more on-ball responsibility than I originally anticipated. And with, like, him on the ball, it's still, like, pretty murky because, like, he's not a great ball handler. He's not really a great decision maker. He's a good shot maker, but he's not very good at creating for himself, and he's not very good in isolation. And, like, I think he was kind of thrust into a role that he really wasn't suited for him. And I think he'd be kind of coming back to a similar role. Obviously, if they could figure out the point guard spot, again, this goes back to the Jakucionis thing. If Jakucionis is able to, earn the trust or whatever, I think he would make life for Wiggins easier, hypothetically. But in terms of the Lakers part of this, I think it does make sense for the Lakers, and I also think it makes sense for the Heat. Like, if you could get, maybe not even connect, like, if you could get Hachimura if you're willing to eat the Maxi Kleber contract in addition to getting that first round pick, because like they would have to attach that if it was Kleber.
What is
I
he
would
making?
imagine.
Because Hachimura is making like 18. So like, is
Yeah,
he
I
making
want
over
to say
10?
it's close, and they're both expiring too.
And the first pick. We have to get the first round pick with that. You
Yeah,
can keep
right.
Connect because I agree. So Simone, even though he shot back poorly, he didn't have like a significant role. Like 2 years ago with the Pistons and I think the Jazz because he got
Yeah,
traded. He was shooting like 40 something percent like for the season. Like he had like 25, 26 minutes per game, dropped down to 16. Like so, we have him now. We have Norm and we have Tyler. And if Davion can miraculously shoot 41% and also 50% from three like he did in the playoffs, like if he could sustain that, that's insane because
he's not sustaining that.
of course
He's
he's
not.
not, but like of course he's not, but like we have capable shooters. Like I'm more concerned about three level scorers now that we have Norm, someone who can also get downhill with Tyler, with Bam in theory, even though he's not a three level scorer. Like that drive and kick is what I think we need for guys who are capable, like Haywood, who shot 40 something percent before, who like someone else like what's Simone, like I was saying, he could if he gets good opportunities. I'm hoping he could shoot at least 37%, like his career averages, right? You have Norman Tyler. Tyler was shooting 46% at one point, for the first like 20 games of the season, which was
Yeah,
insane. That dropped to like 36, but like Tyler still should be closer to a 40% shooter, 3-point shooter. You have Norm. Like I think we have enough shooters now where we don't necessarily need Connect. Like I wouldn't
yeah.
want Connect to come in there and take away from a Pella anyway. Like I'd rather develop Pella or Jaime, I guess, and give him another opportunity, even though he can't shoot for shit. So,
And
but I'm with you. I
the
agree.
thing with Connect though is like I like Connect coming out of Tennessee. I know he was like a little bit of like an older prospect at the time. But with him now, his value sunk so much. Like they were willing to throw him and multiple picks for Mark Williams. Andrew Wiggins is better than Mark Williams. At least I think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Mark Williams has, hardly played any basketball games in his career so far, let alone just one season. And so maybe eventually I'll be wrong about that. Obviously, Mark Williams is like 23, Andrew Wiggins is 30, to your point. Um, but like with Connect, I would only be okay with it just what they have right now after the Norm edition specifically. I would only be okay with it if they were able to flip him for like more picks, or at least another first round pick from somewhere. Like I know people have thrown out the Charlotte option before, just because Charlotte has Miami's pick. They wanted to trade him to Charlotte originally anyway, but I don't think that's the case anymore, just because they drafted Con Knipple. I don't think that's like a realistic match anymore. But like if they were able to flip him to like Brooklyn, I'm throwing a name out there. I'm not saying
What
it's
about
actually
What about 3 second round picks for him? Would that be something?
fine. Like
Or
I'm
even two
fine.
second round picks? Take it. Like
Yeah, like I'm fine with that, just because you could use second round picks for other stuff that could help you at the deadline, or you could just use them in general. They're more valuable than people think. Um, but I just don't think the Heat would do that. And so in the sense that like I would just be okay with getting, Rui, whether it's Kleber or Gabe Vincent or one of their other expiring contracts, even though I think Gabe would kind of be a murky fit now because of how crowded the backcourt is. But I'm just like expiring contracts and first round pick. Like I think that's like a perfectly reasonable asking price for Wiggins. Not saying it will happen or not happen. Um, I think he ultimately gets dealt, if not by the regular season, at the deadline. Um, I just think they want it. They're so desperate to get under the luxury tax. The only other guy that could really do that would be Terry. And my biggest thing is like they're going to have to attach something to Terry, and you can't do that. Like you can't do the same thing that you did to get Terry when you tried to get off of Kyle Lowry's contract by trading a first round pick. You can't now then attach something to Terry Rozier to get off of him. Like if that's the case, just let him expire. And like you also
yeah,
have Haywood's expiring contract, which is like $5.5 million. If you're able to attach that to Wiggins to get off of that or something like that, awesome. Maybe that will, strengthen the package that you get back, for those two players. But like as of right now, I think they will try to get off of Wiggins. Again, if they can't do it by the regular season, build up his value, see what you can see. There's going to be a team that might be even more desperate than the Lakers are right now to acquire him at the deadline because, an injury may happen or a team
Yep.
may be in better position than they previously thought they would be in to contend for a conference title or whatever the case is. And they may see Wiggins as like the missing piece or something. And so if they're able to do that, awesome. And then I think they have leverage in that case. And so it's like, okay, let's do that then. But as of right now, I think there's like a greater than 50% chance he gets dealt by the regular season. But I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I think they would be more content going into the regular season with this current starting five. I mean, maybe not current starting five. Maybe they do a couple more moves, but with Wiggins in that mix. And then you see what happens, over the first 40, 50 games or whatever until a deadline.
Yeah, I see him getting moved for sure.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to your point this offseason, but if it doesn't happen, I think as long as he's not horrible, then or
Yeah.
gets injured, like if he's
That's the risky part. Like if he's
Yeah.
just the same player he was the second half of last season, then you're just like, okay, we really accomplished nothing here. Except
Exactly.
the fact that, his contract will be expiring this upcoming offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I just see him opting out. I don't think he would want to.
You see him opting out?
Do you think he'll forego his what is it, 31 million his last year in 2026, 2027?
Yeah, it's like 30, 31. I think he opted into it. If
You
I'm
think
being
so?
honest.
Do you think if we don't trade him, let's say we don't trade him for some reason, do you think he'll opt in for the Miami deal?
Well, yeah,
Or
if like
become a or will he turn it down depending on how well he does, I guess, right?
yeah.
To renegotiate, become a free unrestricted free agent, that where he can sign a new. This is his final like that if it's this season or the next because it depends if he opts out or not. Like at age 30, 30, 31, whatever he's going to be, this is his last opportunity to get his last bag, like
Yeah.
theoretically, right? Because like if you're getting your last contract at age 32, you want like a 3 to 4 year deal, and he's going to have to play balls to the wall if he wants to actually get another lucrative contract with the CBA going up every single year, at least by like 10% or whatever the average usually is.
Yeah.
He is a guy that theoretically could get, 35, 38, 40, 42, for those final 4 years, as long as he performs well.
Right.
This next season or the following season gets back to like averaging 18 points a game, 5 rebounds, whatever it is, and plays defense well, shoots well from three. So we'll see. I don't know. People had the sentiment that, he didn't want to be with the Miami Heat. Like he wasn't happy to be traded from Golden State to Miami. Like who the hell knows? He was
It's tough
injured.
also
He was
being
dealing
traded.
through, he had family issues and injuries. You know what I mean? Like it is a new
Yeah.
environment. He's never been traded mid-season somewhere. That's like a big, change in its own right. Like getting traded mid-season is not easy. Getting into a new system.
Wasn't he traded from Minnesota, Golden State mid-season, or am I wrong?
I have no clue.
Either way, like I don't think he played well after that either, or at least
From a scoring perspective, at least, yeah, he was
in that
scoring
respective
more in
season.
Minnesota.
Well, yeah, just in that season, I don't think he was, playing up to expectations in Golden State. And then
No, the second year he did. He was there for 4
Yeah.
seasons. I think the second
Right.
season he started playing a little bit better. I think
Right.
I don't know. I think there's like off court stuff with him, but who knows? But yeah, I'm not willing to trade him unless we get a first round pick again to any
Right.
other team. Like
Yep.
because we're still planning on building around Bam and Tyler, especially since Tyler, Tyler still has 3 more years technically under contract or 2 more seasons. Is it 2 more?
2 more. Yeah.
2 more, and Bam, his extension is going to go in after this season. So it's like we're clearly going to build around them or not. Like if we don't trade Tyler Hero, we're building around those two. We need to add as much capital and assets as we possibly can so we can finally add that third superstar, right? Otherwise, trade Tyler Hero because I don't want to trade Tyler Hero necessarily, but like you can find another Tyler Hero, you can't find another Bam Adebayo. So it's gonna be harder to replace.
I've been on the I don't want to pay Tyler Hero.
I don't want to pay him either. So
whatever he
trade him.
wants, and so
I agree.
considering he's coming off of a career season, I would rather move him now, but I know they're not going to do that, which is whatever. We'll see what happens. But
We'll see.
not that he's
Maybe
a
now.
bad player. I'm not saying he's like a shit player or anything. I'm saying like he's a
No.
good player, but this is you're in a state where you got to maximize the assets that you have on your roster, and I think trading him right now would maximize those would maximize his value. And I think, but you also have to find another team willing to take on that contract, willing to pay him, and well, that's a conversation for another day. But
Yes, and
yeah.
I'm not willing to either. And like, he's going to be one of the few players making 50+ million at the time. So
Oh, geez.
it's just the way the NBA works, though. Like, it's just like as the salary cap keeps increasing, like Jaylen Brown, is he the highest paid right now still, or Devin Booker now? What? But you know what I mean? Like
Tatum.
Jaylen Brown is not even a top 10 guy. He's a
Tatum
top
passed
20.
him last year, his own teammate.
Yeah. So, but you know what I mean? Like at the
Yeah.
time, though, like there's always like Bradley Beal at the time. Mike Conley, like 10 years ago. Remember that? Like when he got
Well,
his
yeah.
deal,
I
he was
mean,
the highest paid player in the NBA at a time. So like Tyler's contract will look, we're making it sound worse than it is, but like part of it is it's a symptom of a guy who is an all-star, who is who like just timing is everything for him, right? And like that's just
yeah.
like what the market value is. Even though I don't want to pay him as a top 15 player in the NBA, he would be like the 15th highest paid player if he's making like 50 per year at that time frame. And there's a few guys that are in there that don't make that much
Right.
that make that much that don't deserve it now. But like there's guys like Luca that will be making less than him theoretically for
Right.
that season unless he signs his extension. So like
Well,
that shit kills me right there, right? So because he's a what? What would you say? Tyler's a top 35 player in the NBA now. Maybe he went up a little bit, 40.
I would
I
say,
say like
yeah,
40. People are going
40
to
or
pay me.
50. But
Yeah,
there was also a time where teams would just automatically give those players those max contracts.
yeah.
I don't think we I don't to for some teams maybe that's still the case, but just if you look at it from a broader perspective league wide, I don't think that's necessarily the case. And I think if the Heat, I don't even think they're going to give him the 50. I just think it'll be like, I wonder where those negotiations start, whether it's like 40, 45, whatever.
Even
And I
still,
don't know what their threshold is. I don't think it's the 50, but
no,
like,
I know, but 40 to 45 is still that's too high of a threshold.
I
Unless
wouldn't do
hey,
it. I
unless
wouldn't
he
do it.
hey, but but if he becomes an all NBA third team and he gets the all-star nod again and we get a 6 seed this season and he's averaging 26, 27 points per game and keeps improving, then shit.
That's the bad thing. Like teams are now incentivized in certain cases with these kinds of players to not want them to make all NBA, which is kind of crazy. Like if they don't
Insane.
sign Tyler Hero this offseason, and if he makes an all NBA team somehow next season, he's going to be super max eligible. And that's even like you're digging yourself an
Yeah,
exponentially deeper hole if that's actually the case. I'm not saying that's what they would offer him or whatever, but he would be eligible for it, which
totally.
is like a more terrifying thought.
100%. That's why we have Norm now to save the day to
Right.
take away some usage from Tyler Hero, right? We'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks for hopping on, Matt. I appreciate the time. I didn't expect to go into this Tyler Hero tangent, but why not? That was fun. That was a little more fun actually than the other topics, honestly. So maybe I'll have you on for that again. I know we're not going to give him that extension this season. There's no freaking way. There's no chance.
I think they actually do it.
You
But I
think
don't
so?
think I think it'll be like for 40. But if I'm being honest, I do think they actually do it.
You
It
do?
like
No.
I lean like the 60-40. I do this every time I'm on your pod being like, yeah, I think it's like 55-40. No, like this time I think it's like 60-40 they do it.
I say like 2080 no. Like 80% no, they don't give it to him. They wait and see.
Okay.
And if he kills it, then it's like, hey, do you want to
If he
build a
kills it,
team? Do you want to build a team? Do you want a Jalen Brunson discount for the Knicks type shit? You know what I mean? Like, hey, you killed it. You're all NBA third team. Like, do you want the 50 something million? Or will you take like 42, 45, 48? You know, like maybe he could take a discount. And then maybe Tyler says, fuck you, I'm out. And then requests the trade and we lose all value because we could trade him now
Yeah.
and get 3
Yeah, I
first
would
round
trade him
picks.
now, but not saying because he's bad, but I'm not gonna pay him, so trade
I hear
him.
you. Can you imagine though he does get all NBA next season, we don't pay him, and then we don't offer it to him because we're like, no, we can't afford it, and he's like, trade me, and he like tanks,
Oh my god,
and he
dude.
tanks. They're like, all right, we'll give you 1 first round pick for Tyler Hero versus maybe 3. 2 minimum, right? Like if we trade him
Yeah.
now.
There are
So
so many teams around the NBA trading Tyler Hero variants. Why can't we just trade the original? All right, that's it.
all right. We can't keep going on this tangent. The episode's getting way too long. Thank you so much for hopping on, Matt. Again, let the audience know where they can find you. Not every publication, but just the main ones.
You can find me at NPH_824_ on Twitter. You can find me hotoutoops.com, vendettasportsmedia.com, and mountainwestconnection.com. Thank you again for having me on, Amir.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate it, man.